And now it's time for Omaha Bound with your host, Nicholas White
and Scotty Gange.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Omaha Bound. This is Nick White. I'm here with my boy, Scotty Gange. Scotty, how you doing this week, man?
Doing great, man. I'm back at it. For me, it's been a bit of a, 2-3 week hiatus with spring break. Couldn't make it last week, so I'm happy to be back in here, Nick. Feeling good.
Yeah, we had that little spring break hiatus where everything kind of went cattywampus. Scotty was with me in New York because he was nominated, him and his show, Bragging Rights. Check it out. What days do you play?
Mondays, 9 to 10.
Bragging Rights is hilarious. I play their promos before every one of my show because I love their promos. Tune in, they're hilarious. But they went to New York with me, so that's why we didn't do it that week. And then spring break, everything just got kind of thrown off. And Scotty's a very busy man. He does a lot of stuff, including taking care of a big baseball matchup, which we're going to get into here a little later on. And that is the Territorial Cup. Besides ASU and U of A, we have baseball and softball. For softball, ASU and U of A are both ranked. U of A is number 11, ASU is number 17, I think. Yep. And for baseball, ASU is ranked number 9. They did drop their one loss so far this season last weekend. They lost one game to Oregon. It went into extra innings, actually. It was a pretty close game.
Yeah, walk-off, too.
Yeah, so they have that matchup, but U of A is still leading in a lot of different categories when it comes to offensive, and they're always a very dangerous team. But like we do every week, we're going to break down the top 25 really quick. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on the top 25 because a lot of teams didn't change a whole lot. A lot of teams dropped or went up, but a lot of teams didn't come in and out of their rankings. The only new addition we have is number 25. That is Illinois. They were outside the rankings. They're coming in at 17-4. At number 24, we have Ole Miss, who dropped from number 18 after having a pretty big struggle of a week. We'll jump into that a little more because they have a big matchup against another high-ranked team. At number 23, Florida, probably the lowest we've seen Florida in a while. Number 22, Oklahoma. They went 5-0 this last week. They were ranked number 25. Now they're ranked number 22. And at number 21, we have UC Irvine. Bit of a surprise to see Florida, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss so low in the rankings.
I mean, for Florida, I was surprised just to see them at 23. I think for the past, half decade, they've been top 5 no matter what. Even earlier this year, they were very high. So, they've lost 10 games, and that's probably why they've made their way down to 23. But, just knowing a team like Florida playing in the SEC and with all the talent they have, I wouldn't be surprised to see them kind of figure it out as the season goes on and climb their way back up the ladder.
Yeah, I know they have a big weekend series against Alabama, which they should be able to sweep. Alabama's a tough team, but again, it's the SEC. They play tough teams all the time. I think they got swept by So Florida went 0-3 on the last weekend against Vanderbilt. Lost 5-0. 15-2 and 14-4. So Vanderbilt's showing why they are the Kings right now. And then they won a midweek series against Florida State. And that's when we'll jump into the next five. Florida State went from 21 to number 20. They went 3-2 this week. One of those losses coming against Florida. And then we have TCU, Texas Tech, LSU, and North Carolina. Those are 5 teams that we had possibly going to Omaha early in the season that have kind of slipped a little bit, Scotty.
Yeah, it seems like there's been a lot of kind of overturn in the season so far, and especially looking at, like we said, Florida at 23, LSU at 17. Those are top 3 teams just, 4 or 5 weeks ago. So it's pretty interesting to see. And like I said, same thing with Florida. I think same thing with LSU. They'll figure it out, and they'll get their way back up there.
Yeah, because we were talking about LSU. LSU also has another big matchup against Mississippi State this week, but they've kind of struggled this year. They got swept by Texas. They lost one against Cal, a team they should have easily swept. They dropped one to Northwestern State back on the 12th of March.
That's the killer right there.
That's the killer. And then they ran into number 11, Georgia, and they only won 1 of 2. And then they lost again to McNeese State. They're dropping a couple midweek series, which they can't do. They're going to need to turn that around. But they have, like we said, big matchups against Mississippi State, They have to play Texas A&M, and they got to play Missouri. So they still have plenty of games to climb back into this top 25. I'm going to get back to this top 25. Texas Tech dropped a little bit. They went 3-1, but they were ranked 19, so they moved up. North Carolina only going 2-2 on the week. But then we're going to start up at number 15. We have Auburn coming in at 15. At 14 is East Carolina. 13 is Texas. They dropped from number 9. Number 12 is Coastal Carolina, and number 11 is Louisville. Coastal Carolina made the jump from 17 to 12. Texas dropped a little bit from 9 to 3, and then East Carolina making a huge jump from 20 to 14. They went 3-0 on the week. A lot of these teams, it looks like they're dropping a lot of midweek series though, which they kind of need to win those series if they're gonna struggle on the weekends in these big Power 5 conferences.
So the hard thing with these midweek series, especially for the big teams, is that they kind of live and die by their aces, by their probably 3 starting pitchers, their Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys. So when you get to a Tuesday and Wednesday game, they might just be throwing out a guy that's not even a reliever for them, not a normal starter. He's just kind of another guy, and so it totally changes up the entire thing of the game. And so it's something to keep an eye on, especially when you get to postseason. You got to use more guys. Teams that can't really live during the midseason, at least rely on their offense to get them through those games. That's going to be a struggle when it comes to Omaha time.
Yeah, I just want to check out who Auburn lost to, because they went 2-2 on the week, and they're only 20-4 on the season, sitting in there at number 15. So, they dropped 2 to Mississippi State. Wow.
Right.
Well, don't worry, guys. We're going to get to Mississippi State. Mississippi State is absolutely crushing it right now. So we'll jump into 10. Making another big jump from 13 to 10 is Texas A&M. And then at number 9, you have the Arizona State Sun Devils. Like we said, they dropped their first loss of the season, so there's no more unranked teams in Division I college baseball. They dropped I think it was their Saturday game to Oregon, 5-4. That one went into extra innings. At number 8 is Arkansas. Number 7 is going to be Oregon State, and number 6 is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt sitting there. They went 4-0 on the week. Obviously, they swept Florida, which is a huge win for them. They jumped from number 8 to number 6. But it's tough to crack these top 5, especially we can see them here, and we'll release them here in a second. But Vanderbilt, Oregon State, and Arkansas, Oregon State and Arkansas were the 2 finalists last year. And here we have them sitting at 7-8. Do you think they should be higher, Scotty?
I think they're probably where they should be right now. They've all lost a few games that they probably shouldn't have lost, but I don't think from 6 to 8, 6 to 9 is very low. So I think that's a great place to be, especially now in the season when there's a whole lot of time left. So I think that's probably right where they should be right now.
Yeah, let's see. Arkansas, they played number 9 Texas. They played number 9 Texas, and then they played Alabama. In a weekend series last week, and then they come in, like we said, they play Ole Miss, which is going to be a huge series for both teams. Arkansas, if they can take 2 of 3 or even sweep, they might even be able to jump into the top 25. Ole Miss would then fall out, most likely, but if Ole Miss can somehow take 2 of 3, they're going to climb back into the top 15. So rounding out the rest of the top 25, we have NC State at number 5. They went 4-0. They're still sitting there with that one loss, just like ASU. They're at 23-1. A lot of people think that they should be a lot higher than 5. They should be in that 1 or 2 area. But at number 4, we have Georgia. Number 3, Stanford. And then we have number 2, Mississippi State, coming in there at 22-3. And they have absolutely just taken over college baseball right now. And then on top of the board you have UCLA at 17-4. Scotty, at 17-4, and then you have 22-3. Do you think that these two should possibly be flip-flopped?
Yeah, especially when we're looking at all the top 25 teams that have been losing to Mississippi State. Mississippi State's the best team in the country, that's for sure.
Yeah, Mississippi State, we talked about it last week. Well, we talked about them just about every week.
Yeah.
Honestly, they can just absolutely flat out swing it. And UCLA's a team that pitches it. They don't score a lot of runs, but they also play in the Pac-12, which, there's either hitters' ballparks or there's pitchers' ballparks. You don't really have any in between. High Corbett's definitely a pitcher's ballpark. Phoenix Muni's definitely a hitter's ballpark because they moved those fences in. But let's check out Mississippi State's schedule. They beat LSU. LSU, they have a big weekend series. They beat them in Game 1 yesterday, 6-5. Looking to go for another sweep, as they've already taken 2 of 3 from Auburn. They took 2 of 3 from Florida. And those were kind of their big games so far. They beat Texas Tech early on. But that's what you got to do as a top 25 program. If you're going to want to be in the top 5, you're going to want to be in the top 8 that go to Omaha, you're going to have to win or at least take 2 of 3 of these weekend series, put the pressure on other teams. But we're going to look at some key matchups as we get away from the top 25. We have a few. One of the big ones here in Phoenix, Arizona, obviously is the Territorial Cup. We're going to finish off with that one. But we're going to start off with this Ole Miss Arkansas matchup. Like we said, Ole Miss is going to be coming in at number 21. Arkansas is coming in at number 8. So could turn the tides a little bit in the SEC conference. Friday, the pitching matchup is going to be Will Etheridge coming in at 4-1 with a .71 ERA, 22 Ks, only 10 walks against Isaiah Campbell, who's 5-0, 1.93 with 51 Ks and only 5 walks.
Yeah.
What do you expect out of that Friday matchup there, Scotty?
It's going to be a 1-0 ball game. It's going to come down to somebody. There's lots of really good players on each of these teams. It's going to come down to somebody getting a pitch and taking advantage of it. I think that's what it's really like. It's going to come down to 1 or 2 pitches are going to separate the difference in this ball game.
Yeah, neither one of these teams really rakes. If there is one, it is definitely Ole Miss. Arkansas has always been known for their pitching. It's what got them to the final last year. And unfortunately, they just ran into a better pitching team and a better swinging team in Oregon State. But Saturday's matchup, they have Ole Miss has lefty Doug Nikhazy, who's 2-2 with a 2.88 ERA, 23 Ks, and 9 walks, going up against Connor Nolan, who's 0-1, 4.5 ERA, 17 Ks, and 8 walks. And then Friday, we have Ole Miss's right-handed pitcher Gunnar Hoagland, 1-0. with a 4.09 ERA, 16 Ks, 5 walks against Cody Scroggins, 2-0 with a 3.0 ERA, 36 Ks, and 10 walks. Those 2 games look like they might be a little higher scoring. Both teams not pumping out the type of arms that they have going on Friday night.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the Friday night pitchers are their aces for both teams. It's that way for everybody, but for Ole Miss and Arkansas, just in numbers alone, it's pretty eye-popping and how much stronger their both Friday night pitchers are. So it's going to be, pitchers duel on Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be who can make the right plays, who can hit their guys in with 2 outs, runners on, all that stuff.
Yeah, this game is happening in Arkansas, in Fayetteville. Scotty, who you got in this matchup?
I'm going to go Ole Miss. I'm going to go I'm going to go the number 21 beating number 8. Arkansas is good. I just honestly haven't seen much amazing stuff come from them. I know they've won a few good games, but I just like Ole Miss, and I know Ole Miss has been probably a stronger program for past few years. So I'm going to go Ole Miss for this one.
And they got those really cool videos on YouTube. I don't know if you check them out. Yeah,
they've got a great digital team.
I'm going to go with Arkansas on this one. Arkansas, they've proven they're 21-4, 5-1 in the SEC. They're playing at home. Fayetteville's a really, really tough place to play in. I've watched a couple super regionals there, regionals. I've had buddies that have played there. They said it's super hard to win. But I would not be surprised to see Ole Miss at least take 1, maybe 2, but I'm going to stick with Arkansas. The next big matchup we're going to talk about is coming by way of LSU and Mississippi State. Like we said, we already broke down that Mississippi State won yesterday, and we're going to check out a little recap of that game. Why they moved it up to Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't really know why it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
They must have something on Sunday, maybe a holiday or something. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But they had their chances. Obviously, they only lost by 1 run. Zach Hess suffered the loss and dropped to 2-2 on the season. And we had Zach Hess as possibly one of the Golden Spikes winners on the year. Kind of a tough start for him.
It's tough for him, and that's kind of why we've probably seen LSU dropping when your heart, when you're everything of the team. Zach Hess is 2-2 and losing these games to Mississippi State, the games that he's supposed to win and kind of make his own. When they're losing and they score 6 runs, that's tough.
Yeah, 6 runs on 11 hits. Walking 1, striking out 3, and only 4 1/3 innings pitched. And then Trent Vietmeyer came out of the bullpen, and he was phenomenal. Only walked 3, struck out 3 in his 3 2/3 shutout innings. So they didn't score anymore after Hess, but they just couldn't catch up to the 6-run lead that they had dug themselves into. Mississippi State center fielder Jake Magnum had a huge double to lead off with a bunch of runs with 2 outs. Then Elijah McNamee was hit by a pitch. Justin Fuscu followed with a 3-run home run. It just started to pile on. It feels like they're in Baton Rouge. But as this series goes into Game 2 and Game 3, Scotty, What do you think LSU needs to do? And then who's your pick for this one?
I'm going to stick with Mississippi State. I think LSU, it sounds like their bullpen yesterday was awesome. I think it just comes down to pitching, and they've got to get the right pitchers in there. Zach has struggled, and it lost them the game. So I think for their Sunday, I guess now they're Friday and Saturday starters, they've just got to get through 6 innings or so and get to the bullpen because they have a great bullpen. But I'm still going to go with Mississippi State. I just think they're a far stronger team.
Yeah, Mississippi State had 11 hits to LSU's 9. So obviously it was just coming into the fact of, pitchers and in your defense, playing defense behind you. But the winning pitcher for Mississippi State was Ethan Small. He moves to 3-0 on the year. He threw 5 innings and struck out 10. Absolutely dominant on the mound. I'm going to be with you. I think Mississippi State is the team to beat in college baseball right now. It doesn't matter where you play, who you play, on what day. I think Mississippi State has a chance to go out and beat anyone at any given time. I think 2 losses were early on in the season.
Yeah.
So look for them to just continue their reign in the SEC. And then we're going to move to our Pac-12 matchups. We have, like we said, the ASU U of A one, but another one that's going to be, I think, going to be a great one is going to be Oregon State against Washington. They are playing this at Washington. Do you think that's going to be a struggle as Oregon State's on the road?
Yeah, it's always a struggle just playing on the road. It always just makes things a little harder. You just have to do a little more, whether you're staying in a hotel. Everything is thrown off a little bit. I think the Oregon State to the Portland to Seattle move isn't all that difficult, but yeah, it changes a few things.
The reason this game is so big is because last year Washington was that team that made a huge run to the College World Series, where obviously Oregon State ended up winning it.
Oregon kind of surprised everybody by doing that.
Yeah, no one had
on Washington's end.
No one had Washington picked to make the run, and they did. And I think they went 2 in barbecue, and they didn't do so hot in Omaha, but just to make that run by any standard is something that's huge to do. But Oregon State in their last 10 games against Washington is 7-3, and that includes a 14-5 victory in Omaha last year, when Oregon State was on their way to their College World Series win. Michael Gretler from Oregon State hit safely in 3 consecutive games. He homered against Portland on Tuesday. Look for the bats to stay alive. But who do you think is going to pull this off? Do you think it's going to be the pitching, or do you think Washington has a little bit more magic left over from last season to go ahead and take down the number 7 team in the country?
Yeah, I'd like to say Washington is going to, just have themselves a heck of a weekend and everybody's going to be clicking and all that, but I just don't see them winning. Even though it's at home in Seattle, I just don't see it happening. So I'm going to go with Oregon State. I think they're just too good. Oregon State is just all around. They're better. I don't think Washington has any sort of edge in this 3-game series. So I'm going to go with the Beavers.
Yeah, it's hard to go against the Beavers. They have the lefty Braden Eisert, who's been absolutely shut down. He's 12th nationally with 11.6 strikeout to walk ratio. He's also one of the leaders in ERA. But I'm going to look for Washington to take this one.
Right.
I think they're going to take 2 of 3. It's going to come down to a really hard-fought ball game. Washington's played really, really well so far this year.
I'll remember this next week if they lose.
Remember this next week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look up who they lost to right now. But they're playing at home. They're a team that just absolutely grinds. And with Pat Casey leaving, Oregon State's kept their same drive and their same mentality. Yeah. They know that they can go to Omaha at any given time. But I want to see if Washington can somehow upset them. They're playing at home. They are only 14-6. They took 2 of 3 from Oregon. They swept USC. They did drop a midweek to Gonzaga 5-4. But look for this team to climb into the top 25, I think, later on. I think they'll take 2 of 3 from Oregon State. I don't think either team's going to sweep. I really, really don't think either team's
I don't think so either.
But then Washington plays at Arizona, and then they have another one against Stanford, which is going to be very, very tough. Obviously, Stanford's ranked number 3 in the country. And then it's kind of easier. They play BYU, and then they play Arizona State. And Arizona State, that's going to be a great game. So I think Washington will climb in later on. I think they're going to split a couple of these weekend series with some top-ranked teams, and they're going to start it with Oregon State. Excuse me. Now we're going to move to the prime time. This is what we were really, really excited about. Obviously, all the buzz here in Phoenix, Arizona
Save
is
the
about
best for
this
last.
matchup. Oh, yeah, you got to. Is the Territorial Cup. And this is huge because for a while now, U of A has kind of been the leader in baseball and in softball. I'll give softball that one. ASU has a phenomenal softball team. Trisha Ford does an amazing job. But I think just U of A has always had that edge until now. Talk about ASU's baseball team, Scotty, and about this kind of matchup that we have going on.
Well, I mean, I kind of look at it the same as it was U of A, ASU basketball this year. U of A it's been all about them. They've won pretty much every single time pretty easily, at least in terms of series. And in basketball, they've kind of dominated. But ASU this year for basketball, they had a much stronger team, a more developed team, and U of A was far worse this year. And I think it's the same for baseball. I mean, ASU is one of the best teams in the country. They're ranked number 9. They've got guys that are killing it. Hunter Bishop, Spencer Torkelson. They're 2 of the best players in the country. Not even talking about, a guy like Trevor Hauver and Carter Aldretti, who have created their own type of gameplay and their own type of success this season. And Arizona has just been okay this year. They're good. They're not great. And so ASU is the far better team, and they're the favorite to win every single game, especially since it's going to be in Tempe and Phoenix Municipal Stadium. So for me, I'll give my prediction early. I think it's going to be a sweep. I just see ASU as a far better team. I think it would be pretty exciting to see them sweep them. So I'm going to go with a sweep for ASU this weekend.
Do you think that I know U of A plays a high Corbett, so obviously they don't have they're not a huge home run hitting team.
Right.
That's going to play a difference because the wind typically blows out at Muni. We have a really good pitching staff with Alec Marsh, where they kind of provide the power. They're going to throw 92 to 93 on their fastball. They do mix up very well, but do you think playing at Phoenix Municipal Park gives U of A a little bit of a closer gap to ASU?
I would say that it would because it makes it easier to hit home runs, but ASU is one of the best hitting teams in the country, so I don't think so. I think it just makes it harder because you've got so many power hitters on the team that you're playing in ASU that they can all hit home runs on the team, and they all do. So I don't really think it helps any opposing team unless they are the top hitting team in the country, which I think ASU is right now.
Yeah, I'm going to get to the ASU U of A kind of matchup because both of them are crushing the Pac-12, and both of them in the big scheme nationally are in some of the top categories. We're going to get to that really quick. One thing really, really fast, shout out to my boy Seth Martinez. I'm reading through some of the stats here, and I'm reading in on Alec Marsh, talking about him having this great pitching season. And he struck out 10 batters on the opening night. And it's the first time an ASU player has done that since my boy Seth Martinez, who we had on the show last week, did it in 2016. So big shout out to him. Seth Martinez doing great things. And honestly, to Alec Marsh. Alex Marsh, like we said, has been lights out this year. I'm going to pull up their stats right now.
Marsh is a funny guy because the past few years, he's just kind of been another pitcher, and he's been, reliever. He'd have a few starts, kind of a midweek starter guy. But now, he had a big off season. He obviously worked out a ton and made things very hard on himself because now he's their pitcher. And ASU didn't really come in here having a pitcher this year, and Alec Marsh has done that so far. And so a big tip of the cap to him.
Yeah, Sun Devil pitchers, the starters, don't have a loss. Alec Marsh is 6-0 with a .65 ERA. That is leading, I think, the Pac-12. Let me double check that. Pac-12, it's tops in the country, too. It's one of the top 5 in the country. But he has been absolutely dominant on the mound. He comes in with a .65 ERA. And then you have Boyd Vanderkoy, and his ERA does not speak for how he pitches. This guy pitches and he gets outs, but
Vanderkoy's a baller.
Yeah, I watched him pitch in the midweek matchup against Fullerton. He was lights out. Unfortunately, he had a little stumble early where they were putting up so many runs, but he gave up a lot of runs in the early on. So his ERA is coming in at 5.16. And then the Sunday starter right-hander, R.J. Dobrovich, comes in at 5-0 with a 2.97. Like we said, they've only have one loss, and that was to Oregon, and it was late in the game. That game went back and forth. But I'm going to jump into the Pac-12 offensive rankings first. In first place for batting average is Arizona State, followed by U of A. Slugging percentage, Arizona State leads, followed by U of A. On base percentage, Arizona leads, followed by ASU. That's the smallest margin I've ever seen. U of A is .428, ASU is .427 on base percentage. For runs scored, Arizona has the edge at 231, Arizona State at 226. For hits, ASU has 291 in the Pac-12, Arizona has 260. They're at second. And then they're tied for first in RBIs, both at 211. Doubles, Arizona has the lead at 55. Arizona State, 54. Total bases, Arizona State has 471. U of A, 405. And then walks, Arizona has 157 to Arizona State's 121. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different Pac-12 categories, they are 1 and 2. And then nationwide, I have the stats right here. So we talked about batting average. ASU has that 344 batting average. That is second best in the country. U of A's that 309 is 11th best in the country. ERA at 2.68. ASU is ranked 9th in the country. U of A wasn't in the top 50 on that one. But honestly, they would be a lot higher if Vanderkoy hadn't had that kind of rocky start. Hits, like we said, ASU coming in at 291. They're ranked 4th. U of A at 252. They're tied for 15th. Like we said, ASU have gotten it done with a home run. They are 4th in the country at number 27. And then with runs, ASU has 226. That is 4th. And then U of A, just one more run, is second. So this matchup is going to be a crazy matchup here. I feel like there's going to be a lot of runs scored, especially since we're playing at Muni. If we were playing at High Corbett, I think it might be a little bit different. And you're calling a sweep.
I'm going for a sweep, yeah. I'm feeling good about it. The weekend in Tempe.
What about the softball? Who you got for softball?
The ASU softball team is funny. They're good some nights, and then they just drop one the other. So I'm going to actually give it to U of A. I watched all 3 of the games last year where U of A took the series. So I'm going to give the softball series to U of A.
Yeah.
I'm not biased.
I was going to say, I was thinking about that. I really, really wanted to go with ASU, but I've just seen so much streakiness come from them.
Yeah.
To where it's really tough to give them the edge, even though I do think that they can take at least 2 of 3 from U of A. But I'm a big playing at home guy. I always love playing at home rather than on the road. It's a completely different atmosphere. So I usually go with the home teams. So I'm going to go with U of A as well, but I don't think they're going to sweep. I think they're going to take 2 of 3.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. But both teams, like we said, coming in with great statistical years. Hunter Bishop, let's talk about him really quick. Hunter Bishop is having himself the most monster year. Take us back 1 year to Spencer Torkelson last year when he was chasing that freshman home run record. Talk about Hunter Bishop's success a little bit.
Well, he's a Golden Spikes Player of the Year right now. If it was given out right now, it would go to him. 427 average. How many home runs does he have? 14 home runs through 23 games, 24 games. I mean, the guy's a beast, and it's been cool to see because for the past 2 years, he's been a leader on the team. He's been one of the, everyday starters, but he's just kind of been one of the better guys, and he hasn't really been the guy. And so this year, Hunter Bishop is probably the scariest bat in the Pac-12, maybe even the country too. I mean, he's hitting 427 for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
His numbers speak for himself, and it's just pretty cool to see the guy that's made such an amazing jump from his sophomore year to his junior year.
Yeah, and I think that was the key. Is Torkelson, he's still having a great year. He's hitting 389 with an OPS of 1.057. Only has the 4 home runs, but it's like the focus transferred to all of Spencer Torkelson. Yeah. It's like people forgot about Hunter Bishop and the fact that Hunter Bishop can rake. Hunter Bishop comes in hitting 427, an OPS of 1.579. Not 0.1, 1.579. Started in all 23 games. He has the 14 home runs, 36 RBIs, and he's slugging 1.034. Second best on the team is Trevor Hauver, and he's at 667. And he's just completely separated that gap. And not to mention, he was Pac-12 Player of the Week in a very, very heavy Pac-12.
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. In a Pac-12 that has the number 1 team in UCLA. The number 3 team in Stanford, the number 7 team in Oregon State, the number 9 team in ASU. So the Pac-12 has 4 teams in the top 10, and he was able to take home that award Also, you have Adley Rushman, who I think took it home, 3 weeks ago when we talked last? Very tough guy to get out, but this guy's having a monster year. I agree with you on the whole Golden Spikes watch list. If it were to be picked today, he would be the one to take it.
Right. It would be hard to not give it to him, that's for sure.
It'd be hard to not give it to him. Scotty, why don't you tell the folks what you're doing? Because if you're in Tempe and you want to go watch this game and you want to go hear my boy Scotty Gange, what are you doing this weekend at the baseball game?
Well, if you want to hear all about the Rock and Protein Morning Track Dash, I'll be your guy. We'll be running the mid-inning promotion, so the in-stadium host for that. So we'll do different fun stuff with games with the kids and all that. So while everybody else is warming up, you can hear me talk about Rock and Protein. We've got Whataburger, all that stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I'll be there all 3 games this weekend.
I always joke with Scotty because I got honored at one of the basketball games, and he was doing the same thing for basketball, and he was like, dude, to hold the shirt and do the shirt toss is the most magical thing you can have. To just have all the power in your hand, and I just started dying laughing. I'll never forget that.
The power of a T-shirt toss, for those listening that have never done it, I implore you to do a T-shirt toss. It doesn't matter where. If you just scream you got a T-shirt, even if you're just in a park, everybody goes crazy. And so there's nothing better than people waving their arms, looking at you. I love the Coca-Cola. Now it's the Powerade T-shirt toss.
Oh, the Power. Okay, yeah.
I like Coca-Cola T-shirt toss more. It kind of sounds better, but Powerade T-shirt toss is cool. Makes me want to throw it harder if it's Powerade, you know.
The sports drink. It's supposed to give
it's
you
sports drink
electrolytes and everything like that. Oh,
I'm really chucking it.
So real quick before we go, we talked about a couple of matchups. We talked about the new top 25. Yep. We didn't dig into the Golden Spikes watch list a whole lot this week. We're going to do that a lot next week because there is some matchups where a lot of people are going to separate themselves this week. Right. So we'll talk a little bit about that more next week. But Scotty, does your final 8 change at all? I don't. We didn't write it down. We just kind of rolled with it. But with some teams that we had, I know I had Florida, I had Ole Miss, and I had Florida State all going to the College World Series. They've dropped a little bit. Does your final 8 change?
I know I had Florida in there and LSU, and they've not been very good this year. I'll say now that I'll take Florida out. I'll put ASU in. I didn't have ASU in there originally, and I think Florida has had a season. It might be one of their seasons to forget, and ASU is right now having a season to remember. So I'm going to switch out Florida and ASU. Everything else I'm going to keep the same. I have a lot of faith in LSU that they're going to pick it up.
Yeah, the only kind of change I have is I'm going to throw NC State in there. NC State has won a bunch of games. They played really, really well so far. They were one of the Final Four teams to be undefeated. They dropped one game. They're at 23-1. ASU's at 22-1. But I'm going to throw ASU in there as well. So I'm going to put NC State and ASU in there, and I'm going to drop out, like I said, Florida, and I'm going to drop out LSU too. Right. I think LSU is just going to dig themselves into a big hole, to say the least. I still think they're a phenomenal baseball team. It just sucks when you play in the SEC, and there's other teams that are just absolutely killing it. So the Pac-12, ASU's real test is going to be when they play Oregon State in 2 weeks, and then when they play UCLA, I think 2 more weeks after that. And then they finish up with Stanford. So they have a chance to kind of make some moves, but they won the games that they were supposed to win to get them to this point to where if they do drop one of those series, they're okay. Whereas LSU really needs to win the back half of their schedule, and that's going to be tough for them. So those are the 2 I'm changing. I'm putting NC State, and I'm putting ASU in there. I would love to see ASU go back to Omaha just one more time.
It'd be fun to see.
I watched them play at Rosenblatt when I was in 6th grade, so I was at 12 years old, and it was awesome. I love seeing them play. I loved hearing the stories. ASU's always been one of those. So if you're in Tempe, or if you're just in the state of Arizona, make the drive. Come check out, watch these 2 Pac-12 powerhouses come together at Phoenix Municipal Stadium. It's going to have some huge impact on ASU's season and U of A's season, as U of A is trying to get back to having a couple more wins, like we said, 17-11. So look for this matchup and look for some big home runs to come out of Phoenix Community tonight. So
it'll be fun.
Yeah, Scotty, anything else to say before we sign out?
Looking forward to this weekend and just seeing how everything pans out, not only here in Arizona but everywhere. I think it'll be a lot of fun and good baseball this weekend, that's for sure.
All right, guys, that's all we got time for. Go check out Scotty there. I'm going to go check him out, so if you see videos on Twitter, that's from me. But anyway, have a good weekend, guys. Enjoy some college baseball, and we'll be back with you next week to break down more of the Golden Spikes and the top 25 again. Have a good weekend, guys.